All right, we all know that we deal with stress. Some people better at it than others, but what can we do to kind of alleviate stress from our lives and get that feeling of relaxation? Because I think anymore when you talk to people, Tyler, it's one of their biggest complaints is I never really feel relaxed, or it's hard to get into a state of relaxation.
Yes. Yeah, I would say it's really strange. I'm surprised it's not getting more coverage, just mainstream, but like when Shelley and I think back 15 years ago, people coming in for actually saying, hey, I have stress, what do I do? Is there something I can take, a pill, or is there some dietary things I can do? It was like a tiny sliver of complaints that people had. Now I literally say it's probably every other person.
Wow.
Like, not even kidding.
So you've seen a significant increase.
Like Statistics Canada did a study the last, I think it was April 2014, that showed 3 out of 4 Canadians, working Canadians, experience heavy stress, like self-reported heavy stress. And about a third of those people, so 1 in 4, reported extreme stress. So the number is being supported by Stats Canada. But just from like a clinical perspective, like the people coming in are just, it's outrageous.
And is it just lifestyle? Like our lives in general are causing a lot more stress to people?
I think so. A lot of it, you know, it's working longer hours. I think one of the big things, and I remember learning about this in psychology, and this was going back before the advent of Facebook and smartphones, was information technology was cited by my psych professor as the #1 factor for stress nowadays. It's you know, if something happens in Timbuktu, we immediately know about it, and not only in Timbuktu, but in Japan and all these different places. So our world, our immediate circle of life is now expanded to like, we
and
take
now it's
on
coming
all
at
the
us
burdens.
constantly, right, with all the various social media outlets and lines to get to, right?
Yep.
So you can do some of it with food. Now, this pork chop smells absolutely fabulous. I'm loving the smell of this. But this is really cool to know that there are some foods you can incorporate into your daily regime that can help you sort of feel a little more relaxed.
Aside from fruits and vegetables, which have a higher amount of potassium, there's some evidence that have a high potassium to sodium ratio, which would be basically less processed foods, more fruits and vegetables, can have an effect on stress. Some of the things I brought in here today are protein-rich foods, because 2 amino acids, specifically tryptophan and glutamine, help with either producing serotonin, which is your happy hormone. We've all heard of tryptophan, like eating turkey dinners, you get tryptophan, makes you happy, and then sleepy, because it helps produce melatonin as well, or glutamine, which helps increase GABA. And one of the things we want to talk about today is GABA, which is an amino acid that our bodies produce. GABA is short for gamma-aminobutyric acid.
I'm glad they call it GABA.
It's GABA. So people are wondering, what is GABA? Why is it called that? It's an abbreviation. But glutamine, so these are some foods rich in glutamine.
With your proteins in your legumes.
Yeah, they basically help to increase glutamine production, which helps increase GABA. Now, realistically, for somebody who's experiencing a lot of stress, I would never suggest, okay, just go home and have some eggs and some yogurt and it'll be fine.
Calm me down.
Like, this is a kind of overall, like, include more of these things, but it's not going to be like, yo, this will just calm you right down. This pork chop is going to do the trick. But GABA, basically, you can take them internally. There's 2 different kinds. There's synthetic GABA, which is the common one, and then there's pharma-GABA, which is a naturally derived kind. It's fermented from the same bacteria that makes kimchi from Korean food.
Yeah, which is, I mean, anything fermented, again, is supposed to be good for us. So is one better than the other?
Yes, the pharma-GABA, the natural stuff, seems to work a lot. It's like everything. Not really, actually, no. And you also can take a lot less of it. You can take about 1/5 the amount for the same effect.
Even better. So it could be better for you and end up costing about the same or less.
Exactly. And with GABA, like one of the things that is important with the one that I want to emphasize today, so the GABA and the theanine, those are the 2 big ones. Start with GABA, is that there's a lot of things you can do for stress in general, but if people want like very quick relaxation, they don't want to wait, you know, weeks. You know, in the cases of like adrenal support, we often have people waiting like 4 to 8 weeks before they really notice the effect. Something like GABA works in about 5 to 30 minutes, and if you get the chewable version, it's even faster. It can be much quicker.
And what's the effect? Like, what does it do for us?
So GABA is our body's main, what they call inhibitory neurotransmitter. So when we have a lot of like excessive thinking or a lot of it's just nervous system excitability, GABA basically goes in there to counter the excessive stimulation. So if somebody's really worked up, they're really anxious, their mind is going like a million places.
Which you hear a lot of, right? Like, I just can't shut my mind down.
It's true, especially at night. Like, it affects a lot of people's sleep. Like, they can't fall asleep because they're running through this list in their head of what they didn't do, what they should do tomorrow. So GABA basically gets into those receptors in the nervous system and basically blocks those signals. So it doesn't make you numb. You're not like a zombie or anything. It actually increases focus on like individual things at a time, so you're able to sort of cut down all the excessive chatter. And there was also a lot of other things they found, like it actually increases some markers for stress relief, like salivary IgA, which is one of your first line of defense for your immune system. And they found that when somebody gets stressed, even short term, those numbers decrease, and GABA actually is shown to improve those numbers very quickly within like about 5 minutes.
Really?
So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, they've even done studies, which I was mentioning to you earlier, where a Japanese study where they had people crossing a suspension bridge.
Can cause people a lot of stress.
Yeah, a lot of stress, and they were just specifically prone to fear of heights. And they measured their salivary IgA before, in the middle, and at the end versus a control group. And they found that the salivary IgA levels in the middle of the bridge were actually much lower than, or sorry, I should say much higher than the ones who were on placebo, and even higher at the very end, higher than if they were to never have crossed the bridge at all.
Way.
So they're more relaxed crossing the bridge than they would be on a just regular, everyday time period.
Well, if that kind of a study doesnting tell you what this is doing to you, I don't know what would. That is fascinating.
And clinically, like when it comes to our patients, like it's pretty consistent. And it's not just for daytime anxiety and stress. Like a lot of people for insomnia, it's not known as a sleep formula, and it's not a sleep remedy. But people who often have insomnia, it's because of those reasons, right? It's not because it's just their brains
so this will allow them to sort of get that calm, and then they can fall asleep easier.
Yeah.
And so cool.
And theanine is similar. Theanine is from green tea. It works on your body's production of GABA, so it's a little bit different. It works on production of GABA, serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. So there's a bit more of a mood component with theanine as well. Between the two of them, I find it's kind of like it's a matter of preference. So we have some patients that have tried both, and they end up preferring one or the other. It's almost like a 50-50 split, basically. And
coming into you and getting some of this, you'll prescribe what is going to work best for somebody.
And the nice thing about those two is because they work so fast, it's actually worth having samples. And we've actually been given a whole pile of samples to give out to our customers and patients.
Perfect.
So if anybody's interested, they can always pop by the
get a free sample and give it a try.
Because normally, like, we'll get samples of multivitamins and fish oils, and you're not going to notice anything on like 1 or 2 doses of a multivitamin. So it's
well, that's
nice.
what's really neat about this, right?
You'll know within like 6 pills that they give you if it's going to do something.
You got those samples, people can try it, you're going to know right away, and then they'll be back for more, Tyler.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure having you on.